If you look at science and the work that scientists do, they are constantly pushed to come up with new ideas, new theories. And I think that this scientific method that they use, we can also use within our organizations or even in our own personal life. Dr. Eli Goldratt, the creator of Theory of Constraints and the author of the best-selling book, The Goal, in the introduction of the book gave us probably the most simplest formulation of the scientific method. He said if you wanted to come up with a new idea or breakthrough in any field that you're passionate about or any organization, it really just involves two simple steps. The first one is to have the courage to face inconsistencies. An inconsistency is simply an expectation gap between what I expected to see, a targeted performance, and what actually happened. And then the second step is to have the courage to face and challenge basic assumptions. So if you think about an expectation gap, my expectation versus reality, there's only two assumptions that we can challenge to try and explain that gap. The first one is the assumptions on which my expectation was based. Maybe what my expectation was too high. And unfortunately, that's the most common way that people try to resolve inconsistencies or expectation gaps, as they simply lower their expectation. They completely ignore the other way of closing the gap, which is to challenge the assumptions on which our actions was based, to realize those expectations. What did we do or did not do that can explain that gap? So when we think about applying this to our personal life, inconsistencies create sort of dark clouds that hang over us. You know, we have an expectation about a relationship that was going to work out, and then if it didn't, you know, I thought I met my soulmate and then it turns out she wasn't. It hangs over us like a dark cloud. When we're in business, you know, we set a target for the next year and then we don't achieve that target. When we don't achieve it, there's an expectation gap and it hangs over us like dark clouds. So one way of coming up with great ideas is to capitalize on these dark clouds, not try to bury them, but to actually face them and say, what is this dark cloud? What is the problem or the expectation gap or inconsistency that's now hanging over my head? And why is this important for me to resolve this or for my organization, and why is it important for other stakeholders? And then to see what's the conflict that I'm facing in resolving this, maybe making a change in my life or organization versus not making a change, and really paying attention to the unique pluses and minuses of the change versus the not change or the alternative, and find a practical way of resolving these inconsistencies. This is one thing that we have focused on a lot in our research labs, is to develop very simple processes. One process I've called a pro-con cloud, which is following exactly these steps, looking at these dark clouds that hang over you, looking at the pros and cons of both sides, and providing you with a systematic way of resolving these dark clouds. And that's where great ideas can come from. So every dark cloud has a silver lining, but to get to that silver lining, you first have to face it. If it's important enough, if it's keeping you up at night, then follow a systematic way. Slow down your thinking a little bit and find a way of turning that dark cloud into a major breakthrough within your personal life or your organization.